Hello and welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. It's an OG's flavor and Fridays here on PHNX Cardinals. OG's, not your average cannabis-infused gummy. Check them out, ogbrands.com. See their full new lineup. Here's a lineup for you on a Football Friday. It's Johnny Venerable joined by my co-host extraordinaire, Mr. Brack. And you talk about a loaded Friday show for the little program fanboys who could. Today's the day to join us.
That's right. Talking to probably the most, famous football personality going on right now as far as Mina Kimes. I mean, a lot of times we're saying at this point in the show, we got a really good show. But today we mean it. Like, we absolutely mean it. Sometimes we fall short and it's just me and Johnny droning on about this Cardinals team and how excited we are about it. But we actually got some juice today. We got the entire 2024 NFL draft class for the Arizona Cardinals, including Marvin, Darius. Is Darius, right? What's his middle name? It's the same as Larry Fitzgerald. Denard. Right?
Yeah.
Harrison Jr. making his debut along with his other draft classmates, and Mina Kimes. Excited about it.
Not to be confused, with Darius Robinson. The other first-round pick that was on display that looked like about 20 of me. It's like I ate one of myself and then became Darius Robinson. What's up, everybody in the chat? Mina Kimes joining us a little bit later in the show. But we got some breaking news. I mean, we got rookie minicamp. We got JG, who was gushing about Kyler Murray. We're going to get to all that. Kyler Murray's in Oklahoma with the offense, draining three-pointers in the NBA playoff game. But we're going to start with some breaking news. The Arizona Cardinals make it official, according to our guy Jordan Schultz, friend of the program. They signed free agent wide receiver Zay Jones. I just saw this right before we broke on air, Bo. Ian Rappaport said he chose the Arizona Cardinals over teams like Kansas City, that's crazy. I'll allow it, though. Zay Jones is signing a one-year contract up to $4.5 million, roughly around there. That's similar to what Tyler Boyd just signed in Tennessee. Zay Jones, again, coming off a subpar season. He missed 7-8 games, but the year before that was a pretty big focal point, a Jaguar offense that went to the postseason, won a playoff game. You talk about proven depth. I think it was our guy Kyle Odegaard was joking tongue-in-cheek, like he's the most accomplished wide receiver for the Cardinals. Doesn't mean he's going to be wide receiver 1, 2, or 3, but, I mean, you're signing guys this late in the game for vet minimum contracts potentially is a good addition.
It absolutely is a good addition, and, we have to maybe we weren't exactly right on this one. You and I didn't see this organization going out and doing that, right? And spending the money. I mean, it's not a ton of money. I mean, according to Pelissaro and Rap Sheet, it's just $4.25 million.
Yeah.
But it's a nice, savvy move for Monty Osford. You're starting to see what kind of GM Monty Osford is when he's not tearing things down and he's starting to build things back up and he's starting to put pieces in place for a season that they expect to compete in. So I like the addition. Obviously, what's not to like about it? I was a little skeptical, what would be Zay Jones' interest as far as what his role could potentially be here in the desert, because it feels like as far as their starting wide receiver positions, those are accounted for. They belong to Marvin Harrison Jr. They belong to Michael Wilson Jr. at the Z spot. And then, of course, you got Greg Dortch. But, we see 3 to 4 wide out sets. And I think that the Arizona Cardinals, they're going to not just kick the tires on Zay Jones, but I think this is a guy that, even at signing in May is going to be somebody that's going to vie for a roster spot and some snaps.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if Zach Pascal had any hope of playing in this offense, I think it kind of just went out the window, frankly. Unless it's exclusive on rundowns, this is a time now for Zay Jones. He is not a run blocker first. He's a receiver, stretch the field, 6'2", big presence, not a perfect player. Has been known to drop some footballs, but again, it's how much are they asking him to do? Is he going to be willing to play special teams, right? He's going to compete with Michael Wilson, he's going to compete with Greg Dortch and let the best men win for those competitions. I think Dortch and specifically Michael Wilson have a higher upside, but I also think like if Michael Wilson has to miss a game or two, this is a player that can absolutely come in and start for you 100%.
No doubt about it.
This is a player that's been to the postseason, that's played with Trevor Lawrence, that has a familiarity with what the Cardinals want to do offensively. I'm hesitant to say there's zero downside, but I do believe there's zero downside to this move.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to find it. I mean, when you're adding depth pieces, guys who have had 800-yard receiving seasons, he comes in at 6'2". He's got good speed. He's been around the block. He's played some big time football, and there isn't a downside to it. It's just a nice signing, and there were some good teams that were in on Zay Jones. This is not just like the New England Patriots saying, "Hey, we just looked at our roster. It sucks. You'll come in and immediately get snaps." No, this was the Kansas City Chiefs. This was the Dallas Cowboys that were vying for his services. And he looked at it and said, "You know what? I like what's going on in the desert. I like Kyler Murray. I like Marvin Harrison Jr. to compliment me. I like Trey McBride." There's a ton of mouths to feed, but we know in this game, it's inevitable injuries are, right? As you mentioned with Michael Wilson, but it's not just Michael Wilson. It's across the board. And if you got somebody is versatile as far as the receiving game goes in Zay Jones, I think you're in a good spot. Like I think he could be a backup essentially at all three wide receiver spots.
Yeah, he's played slot and outside receiver, so he can do both. Now, is he going to do both at a high level? No, I think again, if you look up at the end of the year, what's a realistic stat line for a player of this caliber? I think 3 to 4 touchdowns would be great. I think anything over 400 yards, assuming everybody else stayed healthy, I think that's solid contributions. I mean, they have a lot of mouths to feed suddenly offensively. Like Adam Schefter tweeted this out. So you have Zay Jones. You have the aforementioned 3 receivers that we talked about. You have 3 tight ends that I think they're fired up about, including Tip Raymond, Higgy Bear, and of course, Trey McBride, which we're going to talk to Mina Kimes about a little bit later in the show. And then you have 3 backs. Like, remember when they had no backs last year when James Conner went out? Then they added Michael Carter, and now they have Trey Benson. Like, there are a lot of guys on this offense now, big physical players. Outside of Dortch, who plays bigger than his size, it's all about physicality, presence in this offense with Kyler Murray. And that lends itself well. We've been conditioned too long to small, 10 personnel offensive football in Arizona. Like, they had the infrastructure last year of what they wanted to do, but they didn't have the personnel, right? And then they trade away Rondell Moore, and they add MHJ, and they add Chris Moore, and now they add Zay Jones. It's like, oh yeah, it's really obvious what they're doing. And boy, oh boy, we thought Drew Petzing had a type for a receiver, and now it's like you've come out, you've posted it, I don't know, on the dating app, like, I am into big receivers. This is what I'm into. Yeah. Nobody else. It's like when us short kings try to go on the dating app, and it's just like, nope, swipe left or whatever it is. You're 5'7". Yeah, that's what it's like for a receiver trying to get in this receiving room for Drew Petzing.
Absolutely. No, you love that Monty Ossenfort, as soon as Zay Jones hit the market, right? As soon as that he hit his relationship status as single, Monty Ossenfort was intrigued, right?
Yeah.
He's swiping right on the dating app, and he's got another big body receiver, 6'2". That's what Zay Jones is. Let's take inventory of this, right? I posted it after a rap sheet, reported it out there. I mean, he's already Zay Jones joining a near 6'4" Marvin Harrison Jr., a near 6'3" Michael Wilson at 6'2" himself, and Zay Jones, 6'1" Chris Moore, Zach Pascal at 6'2". You've got even the guys that they got at the end of the draft, and Tajon Palmer, and some of the signed off this as undrafted rookie free agent, and Xavier Weaver, over 6 feet tall. The only person in that draft, in that wide receiver room, plays bigger than he is, and Greg Dortch, and that's how it's supposed to be, Steve Keim. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how you build a wide receiver room. So, it's exciting. It's exciting times in the desert. We're sitting here and we would have been just itching for a signing the caliber of Zay Jones. And now, like, not only do they go out and do it because they feel like their roster's in a position to add depth like that, but also that, they can keep up with the rest of the league and be at the negotiation table with teams like Kansas City and Dallas.
So give me your receivers that make this team, not practice squad. So we're going to fast forward to September. It's the opening Sunday. How many receivers make this team now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you've got the always up and down from the practice squad, Andre Pacellia. Like, he's always there. Like, he's the girlfriend that you never wife up and never officially are in a relationship with, but always something there. I would say you got Marv, you've got yourself Michael Wilson, you've got Greg Dortch. Those are easy, right? And then you start to look at
and Zay Jones is going to make this
Zay
team.
Jones. I think immediately gets there. So then you're at 4, and then let's add Chris. Let's see.
Chris Moore's making the team. They just signed him.
Yeah, I mean, I think but it's not like, hey, you can't move off of that contract. He's got a 1-year deal for no money.
But he's a special teamer. I mean, he's not making his money.
When I'm looking at Palmer and I'm looking at Weaver, they got a long way to go.
I would venture to say, I hate saying no shot. How do those guys make the team now? Unless you're kicking ass and you got to have
special.
And like, how many opportunities are you even going to get during camp?
Yeah,
they must have known, because we're sitting there day 2 of the draft. Get Roman Wilson. Get a day 2 receiver, mix it in with Marv. Let's go. They tip Raymond. They take another lineman. They take a running back. They do everything but take a receiver. And now it's like obvious, like, okay, they wanted to add a vet after the draft. I got that wrong. And so Marv is the exception. We got one. He just so happens to be our number 1 receiver, 1 rookie wide receiver of note. Palmer's a nice prospect. Weaver's a nice prospect. They got practice squad written all over them, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and I think that there's obviously an opportunity to sneak them through.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the good and bad is for them vying for a roster spot is they would make some noise in the preseason, and then they would probably catch the eyes of the teams not only that they would face in the preseason, but also the rest of the league. But like the Cardinals have, you gotta feel pretty comfortable with that room, right? I mean, I thought, and I was with you as far as on the fence of whether or not they would add him. But the vet presence goes a long way. Obviously it does with Pascal, and it transcends like the lack of the production or the lack of production from Pascal, even though he's a beast in the run game and in special teams. So those guys are going to have to embrace special teams big time to really have an opportunity here. But you look at the athletes now that they have on teams. Like I saw Jeff Rogers out there today to give a little insight as far as the first day of rookie minicamp. I mean, you got Trey Benson saying he's never played teams before. He's out there working out. Tip Ryman, as we mentioned. You've got Rabbit out there and Taylor Demerson, and then you got other players like Elijah Jones. Like guys they're gonna have some athletes on special teams, and you got Jeff Rogers, who's been with this organization for a while. He's been one of the few consistent mainstays that is really good at his job and coach these guys up and put them in a really rock solid spot.
It's amazing. Like once this team gets some talent and proven talent, like the rookies have to come in and be rookies again, right? They have to earn their keep. And Marvin aside, and Darius Robinson aside, like everybody else come in and play teams for a little bit. Buda Baker played special teams once upon a time. Like last year, it was like, let's just start everybody. Let's get all the rookies in here. Let's get them vital snaps. If you're a 6th-round corner in Keitrell Clark, guess what? You're thrust into the starting lineup because, those were the options at the time. A little bit different in 2024. It's a better feeling. I want to talk about the feelings, the vibes around rookie minicamp a little bit more in depth, Bo Brock. So, again, as we pivot, no Zay Jones. He probably makes an appearance at the facility, next week or in a couple weeks, certainly during OTA's continuation. But you were out there in Tempe today. The rookies took the field. Now, here's what I will say. As compared to some of the other teams that were going at it today, Buffalo and, Chicago, it felt pretty light for the Cardinals today with their rookies. I don't want to say going through the motions, but our boy JG, Marvin, they got their bucket hats on, doing some light calisthenics, doing some stretching, not a ton of, hard-hitting football being taken place in Tempe. Am I wrong there?
No, you're not wrong. Eased into it. I think that this is, albeit they're drinking from a fire hose, I'm sure, through their playbooks and just as far as developing their processes. I think that they really did ease into it. Talking to the players after practice, from Trey Benson to Elijah Jones to who was the third guy we talked to. Man, it's been a while. Why does it feels like I just talked to the guys? There was a third member of the Cardinals organization that we spoke to.
Elijah Jones. Who else did you talk to?
Oh, I'm sorry. Rabbit.
Rabbit.
Yeah. Who were all fantastic, but these guys weren't gassed from their first practice by any means. Like today, it really felt like they were literally being taught how to stretch. Like their pre-practice stretch they were just going through, what that was going to look like. And that was kind of the bulk of our time out there on the field was getting a glimpse of these guys just kind of warming up and stretching. And then like once they did break down in position groups, then, our time for the media to check it out, it was over. So like there wasn't a whole lot. And Marvin, I don't think participated much anyway. Like I saw with Weaver and Palmer, some other pass catchers, Marvin was just on the sidelines hanging out with the wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator, Drew Terrell. So there just wasn't much to it. It wasn't, they weren't just going to immediately throw them to the flames.
Let's see some highlights here from rookie minicamp, Bo. And you mentioned it. There's our first look during warmup. It was it 90 plus degrees here in the Valley today for day one of minicamp, Bo?
I don't even know. I didn't see the temperature out there. It was decent, right? There's Xavier Weaver right there in front of Marv, who's catching passes on the sidelines as the rest of the receivers are kind of working out. Here's Drew Terrell kind of going to give him a little feedback here on how to secure the football.
And he's like, I know how to catch a football. You see my resume?
Yeah. So, hey, I've been learning from a guy named Marvin Harrison Jr. Ever heard of him? Go check out his bust in Canton. And then this is a little highlight from Max Melton. He's in good shape.
Looks good.
The second round corner at a Rutgers. So Darius Robinson looking big out there. But, yeah, just a real quiet day. And I don't think anybody anticipated it being, really kind of balls to the wall out of the gates there. So
the only one that was I would say 100% balls to the wall was Jonathan Gannon in his opening presser today. That felt like on a different level. So first of all, not to take a hard right pivot into this, Bo. So you have to explain, like, Donnie Druin, who's a friend of this program, so he covers the team, all Cardinals. If you follow him on Twitter, brought in donuts for the media.
Yeah.
And was like probably feeling pretty good about that. And Jonathan Gannon comes in, Bo, and says something completely different when he was offered a donut.
That's right. So Donnie Druin, to his credit, I mean, I walk into the facility.
Donnie's a gem, by the way.
Yeah, JG's talking at 9. I get into the facility about 8:30, and Double D's there already, just working on his laptop. And
do other people call him that, by the way? Is that
no? I just made it up. And
maybe don't do that.
Anyway, there's the fresh box of Bosa donuts right there.
Yeah.
Just nicely placed by just the sweet boy that is Donnie Druin, and trying to be a leader, trying to be a good teammate. And JG comes in about a half hour later. He's tipped off on it. He's like, "Hey, here we got the donut. We got donuts for everybody." And somebody was like, "Hey, you gonna dabble, JG?" He's like, No. That's a what did he say?
That's not how we win or something. That's
a non-winning move. That's a non-winning move. He said that's a non-winning behavior in our building, is putting back a couple donuts. So
wow.
I was sitting right next to Druin. I could just feel the life sucked out of his body at that point. Here he was. He felt like he had done everything right, and he was going to continue to pave the way for Porter and endear himself to not only the team, but his peers. And here he was cut down and said that's non-winning behavior.
JG couldn't have been more disgusted. And it's not, they're not like, over the top donuts with, fruity pebbles or bacon on it. It's just look, classic glazed donut. Have a glazed donut. We're excited to see the rookies. Jonathan Gannon was like, get that out of my press conference. We're not about that here. So pouring out for Donnie Druin, Double D as both.
I did a welfare check on him. I said, hey, just checking on you today. He said he's trying to develop the goldfish mentality mindset, where you forget it a little bit. You have a short memory.
So that's how today started. And I saw that come across my timeline and almost cried tears. It was so funny because I saw the text and I saw the video that Bo posted, and it's classic stuff. But then you hear JG talk about one Kyler Murray during the press conference. He covered a lot of stuff. This clip on K1, fresh off Kyler and the boys last night in Oklahoma City. Just listen to this clip. And Bo, then I want you to kind of recap for our audience a little bit about what JG meant.
Yeah, we're going on year 2, but this is really year 1 off season for me, where I've seen him on the field with everybody, in the weight room with everybody, lifting and meetings and all that stuff with everybody. So that's been really cool. And like I said, guys, I think his game's going to go to another level. I know it is. I've been extremely pleased with where he's at, what he's doing, the command and the leadership that he's displaying right now. I mean, I think it was the best RVA I've ever seen in my life on Wednesday, truthfully. I had to watch it a couple times because did my eyes really see what I just saw? Not to put a bunch of pressure on him, but he's doing extremely well.
I mean, to
what
on
is
the heels,
RB real quick? What does that mean?
what as far as just what he was doing? What
Kyler was doing that? Not to interrupt you.
That's a good question. I was considering that. It's just probably some sort of run, and it's not an RPO by any means, but
some kind of rep that he did yesterday.
Right. So, but the leadership that he was talking about, the things that you and we had just taken from a picture posted by the team. And you could just tell that he was already locked in at this point. Like, this is a different Kyler Murray at this point. Like, it's glaring in a very good way. Like, you posted today on social media, him and his boys, that, JG shed a little bit more light on as far as, getting everybody on a plane, flying them out to the playoff game between the Mavericks and the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, it's not just him and James Conner. It's him, Michael Wilson, Will Hernandez is part of it. And isn't Paris Johnson Jr. in that crew as well?
And then, was it maybe also Michael Carter Jr.? Who was next to, someone will have to keep me honest. Somebody was next to James in the photo that we couldn't identify. But yeah, they had a crew of 7 dudes that went to Oklahoma City for that playoff game. Now, my question real quick about that. So James and Kyler were courtside hitting trays, or at least Kyler was during the break. Was everybody else not courtside? Were they up in a suite, a luxury box, maybe?
I don't know. I couldn't
Paris was
tell
probably
you.
what the hell is my courtside seats?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but he's hanging out there with James Conner, and then James Conner's taking you getting roasted by his head coach Jonathan Gannon in the presser today, saying somebody point blank said, "What did you think about James Conner's shot?" And he said it wasn't good. He needs a little bit more. He needs to put his legs into it a little bit more. But that was after talking about how Kyler Murray is just this naturally gifted athlete. What was his quote, Johnny? It was like, if you're going to bet that, first off, don't bet that guy, because he's going to take your money in anything that you're going to compete in with him. And with that, and then with him having the infrastructure that he has now, but just the mentality, just the just killer mentality that he said, right? And then he post that on social media during his rehab. That's where Kyler Murray is. And more on what Gannon said was, this is kind of year one, right? This is our second season working together. But with him on the shelf and rehabbing last year, and being Jonathan Gannon's first year where he's kind of putting the processes in place, it's now everything's in place. And now it's year one where they get to kind of work at this together and chip away at this together, and really kind of work towards their first full season together.
I remember we had a chance to interview James Conner last January, and it was a popular time for people to take shots at K1, former teammates, media personalities, and James was his teammate, and James came on our show, and James spoke for about 15 minutes about the person, the character, the work ethic of Kyler Murray. And a lot of people at the time kind of pass that off. Oh, he's carrying water for the organization. He wants his contract picked up. No, it turns out it's very authentic. They're very close. And I can't think of a better person for Kyler to spend time with, ingratiate himself with, than James Conner. I looked at that yesterday. I'm just we're very fortunate to have James Conner and Kyler Murray, but James Conner and the leadership example that he's been able to set, the character he has, the obstacles he's overcome. We mentioned on yesterday's show, you are who you surround yourself with. And I just feel like the presence of James with K1, and then the rest of those folks in that photo, Will Hernandez, very high character, Paris, Michael Wilson. We know the character of Michael Wilson. It's a new era for Cardinal football. It's not about me guys anymore. It's about the team. And I did post that photo today, and I was pretty pleasantly surprised by the response by most people. Just hey man, something about this team feels different this year. We want to talk about Marv rookie camp, but the aura around this team seems to be very different than anything that Kyler Murray has had a chance to experience since he got here. It feels very on par with the best years of Bruce Arians and Carson Palmer and Fitz and doing the bucket challenge. Like, they're getting back to a cohesive 53-man roster instead of just, hey, let's out-athlete everybody. Everybody's doing their own thing, individual brands. Like, not that I'm happy that Hollywood Brown isn't here, but I just feel like I want James Conner and Kyler Murray to spend as much time together because I think that highly of James Conner and his character.
Yeah. It's like they know what they do and what they want to do. And it's simple, right? It's simplistic relative to the NFL. It's real simple compared to what the previous regime tried to do, especially on the offensive side of football, defensive side of football too. Like there were two coaches that were calling the offense and defense that thought, they were being innovative, and they weren't. They were holding the team back, and they were the new regime is like, we want to do this and we want to dominate it doing this. And we have the personnel to do so. We feel like we're close to having the personnel to do so. And we've got the right guy, the trigger guy, as Jonathan Gannon would call it, in the quarterback in Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray's still dealing with stupid shit. Like, I was listening to, I'm not going to say like what the name of it was, but I was listening to one of the channels on Sirius XM driving home, and it was a fantasy show. And they were talking about doing a whole Cardinals preview and everything that they looked at from, Marvin Harrison Jr. being a potential wide receiver 1, and Trey McBride coming off the huge season, and James Conner. Are you buying anything? The guy said he wasn't buying any of it. And they get to Kyler Murray, and the guy said, oh, he had that study clause in his contract. And, the big thing about Kyler Murray is he's going to want to put the work in. And I just don't think, it's pretty, like, we know at this point he's not going to put the work in. I was like, I couldn't believe it. It's like, are we really going with these tired false narratives?
But you can believe it at the same time.
Some guy in his parents' basement doing a podcast, and he's got a bunch of followers, giving fantasy insight, but he couldn't be more incorrect as far as the Cardinals quarterback.
I do need to tell you something. So this Sunday, I got a text message like 2 days ago, asked to join that show on Sunday. And guess who's hosting that show? I'm going to do a 10-minute hit on the Cardinals. Guess who's hosting Serious Fantasy when I join the show on Sunday?
Who?
Mike Florio. Mike Florio is going to host.
No, there's a different one.
Oh God, it's not the OG.
There is, yeah. So
now I feel better about it.
Yeah, so. There's a Michael Florio.
They didn't spell it Michael Florio, so
yeah.
I
think he usually has to throw like his middle initial in there. Yeah, that's it's different than PFT Mike Florio.
I wish. Yeah, I was like, I don't think he works for Sirius, but yeah. Well, listen, at the end of the day, people are pretty uneducated about this team unless they watch this podcast. And if they watch this podcast today, they would see one Mina Kimes. Before we get to Mina Bo,
I would never, by the way, Sports Hero. Donnie Donuts, he's a friend of the program. He's not in his basement. He's got good takes. This guy on
Donnie's fantastic. One of my favorite people. One of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. He's on par with our friends at OG's, Bo, is he not?
Absolutely. And it's an OG's Flavoring Friday. We love our partnership with OG's, of course, Arizona's favorite cannabis gummy kitchen. And they launched a couple products at the beginning of the new year. If you're keeping up with them, you know about the naturals. You know about the big OG's. Those naturals vegan gummies made with that live rosin, available in sweet clementine flavor. It's delicious. And those big OGs, that mega version of Peg's Raspberry Orange, that RSO, don't miss out on it. It's one of the company's most popular products. And now you can get massive, huge 100 milligrams of THC slice, but it's 10 perforated slices, so you don't have to go too big all at once. I don't recommend it. You got that fresh squeezed juice, that live rosin. It's unbelievable. They do the pressing process. So much care goes into creating these delicious gummies. You like the fruits, you like the creams, you like the indicas, the sativas. Find out for yourself. Check out their full product line, ogsbrands.com. Follow them on your socials at ogsbrands. And also, of course, check them out in your local dispensary. You got to be 21 years or older, but check out our friends over at OG's Brands.
Going to get to Mina Kimes in 1 second, but first, got to tell you about our friends at BetMGM. How about the Grand Slam Jackpot? It's Friday. It's not only OG's Flavoring Friday. It's time to hit a Grand Slam Jackpot promotion with our friends at BetMGM every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, both through the MLB season. This is a weekly bet and promotional. All you got to do, place $10 or more on a wager for any player to hit a home run, right? Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Could be today, whatever. Bo's Precious Orioles. You want to same day. And if the player hits a grand slam on that day, you can win up to $50K in daily prizes or share the prize with any other winning bettor. So good chance you're taking home some serious cash if you bet on a player to hit a home run and then they hit a grand slam. But what you got to do first and foremost, you got to download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on your iOS, Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $10 in your newly created BetMGM Sportsbook account. And then from there, use the bonus code PHNX. And on top of the Grand Slam jackpot promotion, get this, if you sign up with bonus code PHNX and you deposit at least $10, you're going to receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. So you bet 10, you lose it, you get $10 back in bonus bets, all the way up from $100, $200, $1,500 in bonus bets. But you got to do it with our friends at BetMGM. You got to check out the show notes for full details, and you got to listen to my guy, Shane Diefenbach, talk about it in the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Cardinals is thrilled to welcome for the first time ESPN NFL insider Mina Kimes. Mina, it's a banner day because we get you on the show. Marvin Harrison Jr. also just debuted here in Arizona for Mina Kimes. So it's a pretty big day for this podcast.
Yeah, I also put up all these Korean flags in honor of Kyler Murray. So we're celebrating Kyler too today for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Absolutely. And it really feels like the organization's finally celebrating Kyler Murray since the regime change, right? We get Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon is just speaking, waxing poetic about his quarterback. He's even mentioning him kind of knocking down some Jays the other night at the Oklahoma City Thunder Mavs game. So like all things are pointing towards Kyler Murray and a big season. And with the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr., like what's your feeling about this Cardinals team going into 2024?
Yeah, I think the point you just made is a really important one, which is that it feels like the organization is backing Kyler, not just with their words, but obviously the actions in drafting Harrison, not even just passing on a quarterback, right? But drafting Harrison Jr. in particular. I think it was on draft day, Kyler put a kind of cryptic tweet out saying, "Ooh, I think something good might happen." And I was like, okay, MHJ, it's happening. It's over. We're done. Because you could not get a better gift as a quarterback than that wide receiver who, I talked about this a lot headed into the draft. I thought he was the best player in the entire draft. Just an unbelievable prospect. And I'm someone who tends to be on team trade back down, especially when you're a team that's either rebuilding or sort of in, coming off of the beginning of the rebuild, like I would say Arizona is. But Harrison Jr. is such a special player that I think you sometimes have to just stay put and take the players that you want to rebuild around. And he is certainly that guy.
Could you make an argument, Mina, like outside of the quarterbacks, obviously, that have, more of an emphasis touching the football every play, that Marvin was the most impactful addition, maybe this entire NFL offseason?
For the Cardinals or for any team?
Maybe for just about anybody outside of the quarterback position, I guess.
Yeah. Well, he's pretty impactful, especially when you consider the receiver group before, where I think, if I have this right, Pascal might have been the highest paid receiver on the roster. I remember looking at the salary cap and like, whoa. Although I will say, very few people nationally seem to actually watch the Cardinals last year and maybe miss the fact that Trey McBride was unbelievable. And I say that as a Trey McBride dynasty owner who has been gloating about it like I'm, Bill Belichick ever since then. But yeah, I think in terms of what he can do for that offense, certainly up there in terms and level of impact, and not just because of his skill set not just because of the situation that he's walking into where he's going to ask to be the number one right away and is going to get the Lions' share of targets, but also because the type of receiver he is not scheme dependent. He is not someone you have to call certain plays for. He is a receiver where you just plop him down line of scrimmage and say, "Go win, buddy," and you run your entire offense through him, which I expect Arizona to.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're a confirmed McBridesmaid. That's
Yeah.
That's what your one of your colleagues there. We asked Field Yates if he was a McBridesmaid. He says he absolutely is a McBridesmaid. So we've got Mina Kimes on board with being a McBridesmaid as well. I thought you and Field did a great job, really kind of breaking down the Cardinals' offense and how they really emphasize the run game, how they established that last year. We had the great season in James Conner. They added to that this offseason in the form of Trey Benson, who we heard from today, and then Tip Ryman, #1 blocking tight end in the draft. When you look at that, it really seems to be that's what they want their strength to be. But what does that do for Kyler Marvin, this passing game?
Yeah, well, ideally it opens things up, right? Because of the resources that teams will have to allocate towards stopping this rushing attack. By the way, was Tip Ryman the guy who said he likes to throw pots in his spirit? Did I see that?
Yes, that is him. And he also didn't believe in
I wasn't
birds.
high enough on him. Now I know that. I love that. And also, what a great Arizona, a lot of pottery out there as somebody who grew up in the Southwest. No, I think it really should make life easier for Harrison Jr. and for Kyler in the passing game. And Harrison Jr. is a player who's very accustomed to being double teamed. And yet one of the many reasons why he was my wide receiver 1 is the level of attention he faced at Ohio State in college. So he is accustomed to being in adverse situations. And I do expect him to face his share of bracket coverage, even with, I thought they just signed Zay Jones. Did I just see that right? So I'm like,
yeah.
So that helps certainly, and McBride helps, but he's going to get a lot of attention. But hopefully the run game being so dynamic, and it was very dynamic at the end of last season, will open things up for him, give him some one-on-ones as teams have to put more defenders in the box to stop the backs that you talked about, but also Kyler Murray. Last year, I thought he showed a lot in the second half of the season, but he was still coming off of the injury. So now you're another year removed from that. And hopefully he's even more dynamic as a runner because of it. I was just talking about Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels on NFL Live. And I mentioned, I sometimes had quibbles with Cliff, the play caller, but one thing he was really good at was calling that quarterback run game. People forget how unbelievable Kyler was his first 2 years, second only to Lamar Jackson in yards per carry, first downs per carry. He actually had more explosive runs than Lamar those first 2 seasons. So hopefully he can get back to that as well.
Jonathan Gannon, I think we all agree, showed a lot of promise last year. They beat Philadelphia on the road. They beat Pittsburgh, but they still went 0-6, in the NFC West. And, at the end of the day, I think we'd all love to see this team back in the postseason, especially with Kyler playing 17 games. But the NFC West, as you know, is a different animal entirely. What is it, personnel exclusive, or is it just Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay dominate this division? How do you break through that if you're Arizona and JG?
Yeah, those two coaches are really challenging. And now Seahawks have Mike McDonald, comes from Baltimore, is a really brilliant defensive mind. I think that you really have to go team to team, though, with the Niners. I mean, they obviously caused problems for the entire NFL. They made it to the Super Bowl, but because of how multiple they are on offense, you have to have really, really special linebackers to match up with them, and very few teams do. Baltimore did. That's why they beat them so badly. And that obviously wasn't the case in Arizona or really anywhere else in the NFC. So that presents a unique challenge, coupled with the play calling ability of Kyle Shanahan, his ability to isolate defenses at the second level and make their lives miserable. And then with the Rams, again, offensively, just so explosive. Matthew Stafford still playing at such a high level. This run game now is really, really scary. That power running attack with Kyron Williams and that offensive line that they've invested a lot in. So, I really like the things that Arizona is doing, but when I see them losing to those teams, I don't say, oh gosh, that's a failure on the part of Jonathan Gannon. I just think they're still adding the sort of personnel they need to keep up with those offenses.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time in the rebuild. Monty Ossenfort takes this blank canvas and really creates something beautiful, and it's on the rise, no doubt about it. But is it as simple as, they were top 10 offense with Kyler Murray when he came back? Is it as simple as Darius Robinson, Max Melton, that rebuilt defensive line needs to step up and kind of play above board a little bit for this team to really make some noise in 2024?
Yeah, I think the thing about rebuilds is you have to kind of set expectations, right? And I think last year it was kind of the perfect season because you didn't win too many games to get out of the Marvin Harrison Jr. business, but you want
God.
enough to show that you're heading the right direction. And you also identified the beginnings of like, okay, who are the players we want to rebuild around? Obviously, McBride is one of them. Paris Johnson is the other. You know, Kyler coming back. Okay, we feel good about the quarterback position. Our running game is awesome. Defensively, all right, we now have David Collins rushing the passer. That looks better. Obviously, our safety duo is still very good. We know that, but there's still massive holes. And now you're kind of in phase 2, which is we're starting to fill some of those holes. Who are the other young pieces of this core? And as you said, you probably do need to hit on at least half of those draft picks to feel good about it. Because if the rebuild is about amassing draft capital, the second phase of the rebuild is those draft picks turning into kind of dudes you feel good about. And so you'd want some of them to show that in year 1.
I want to go back, Mina, if we could, to Kyler. And, you know, he played, I thought, pretty efficient football down the stretch, 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. They had the hardest strength of schedule at the end of last year, and they almost went 500. Yet you see him in this offseason, and he's working his butt off. And yet, you know, preseason rankings, they've got him late teens, early 20s as quarterbacks in the NFL. Why do you think he is such a target for some people, a polarizing player, when in reality, if you're in Arizona, he's the best homegrown quarterback they've ever had?
Yeah. Well, first, like I said, I'm convinced like nobody watched the Cardinals the second half of last year. I'm not trying to like cast shade on anyone just because they don't agree about Kyler necessarily. I just like Trey McBride is a good litmus test for that, because anyone who watched him knows how good that dude is. I already think he's like one of the better tight ends in the NFL, to be honest. But you know, I think obviously sort of when you're hurt and you're absent, you know, there's sort of that MIA quality where like he's kind of not present in people's minds. And then if you're not in a team that people are paying attention to, you fall further from people's minds. But I also think the last memory that a lot of sort of, you know, national folks have of him is the struggles in the postseason off of the year where he had the kind of MVP caliber first half of the season. That's something that he owns. And I think it's something that he's going to have to disprove once he starts getting that national spotlight again. I'm a huge believer in his abilities as a quarterback. I think he has, you know, a very rare and special skill set. And I also, you know, had quibbles with some of the approaches to the offense his first couple of years. So, you know, I think there's a real opportunity for him this year to own this team, this rebuilding team. And it seems like, at least externally, I don't follow the team as closely as you, that there's more, not just organizational buy-in, but team-wide buy-in around him as well. And I think that has to feel good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It really feels like he's got the most infrastructure he's ever had in his entire pro career. And it's just going to point to a successful season. I just keep thinking about Tip Ryman playing the role of Patrick Swayze in Ghost, but also like imagining himself blowing up somebody in the C gap, which is just an unbelievable visualization. Mina, you've been so kind with your time. We're so grateful we could catch up with you. You spent some time, you went to Mesquite High School, the same high school as Roy Lopez, current Cardinals defensive lineman.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah.
Wow.
What, any memories growing up here in the Valley?
That's crazy. Yeah. People always are like, why aren't you a Cardinals fan? But
why?
My dad was in the military. I was born in Nebraska, lived in California, all over. So even though I went to high school in Arizona, I am Seattle sports because of my dad. But yeah, I went to Mesquite High School, which was actually new. That's how old I am. When I went there, it had just been built. Not a particularly competitive football team back then. I did recently run into Ryan Fitzpatrick, Highland High. Or no, he was Gilbert. No, he was Highland. And then Brock Purdy was Gilbert, right? At Okay. Oh God, that's one of the new
out
ones.
in Gilbert. Yeah, absolutely right.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, we're all from Gilbert, and I ran into Fitzpatrick at the Super Bowl, and we reminisced a little bit about Gilbert, Arizona, Filiberto's our time spent there. I hear Gilbert now is like popping, by the way, which is
I just bought a house in
That's
Gilbert,
great.
and it better be popping. We're looking forward to it. We're leaving Chandler. We're going to Gilbert, and I said, Mina lived there. I feel pretty good about it now.
not like that. When I was in high school, it was like Dairy Farms, Joe's Real
Right.
Barbecue. That was
it's
it.
still
So
legit.
shout out Gilbert.
Yeah, Joe's
Love
is
that.
unbelievable. You wouldn't even believe it where it is right now. So you spent a lot of time at the Fiesta Mall in Mesa then? Is that where you went and spent most of your high school days?
Chandler Fashion Square. No, Chandler
Okay,
Fashion
there you
Square was
go.
what's up. Or we would go to where they had the AMC. like on the north end. I can't remember exactly where it was. There was like a big AMC theater complex. This is like such an Arizona thing. It's just like hanging out at movie theater complexes. People don't understand in LA and New York, but we're gonna just go hang out at the movie theater all the time and just like sit outside of Starbucks. So yeah.
It hasn't changed. Not much has changed, Mina. We're so fortunate to catch up with you. Of course, watch her on a daily basis. ESPN, follow her on Twitter at Mina Kimes, and just continue to keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Mina.
Thanks, Mina.
Thank you so much. And if you're listening, Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny. Yes. I promise we cover the Cardinals more than a lot of national things. So check it out if you're listening to this. Bye, guys.
Absolutely. See you, Mina. Mina Kimes, fantastic. Mina Kimes, enjoyed the time spent. Not sure. Clean it up, chat. Come on, chat. Let's get it
what
together.
is going on,
The chat's a little nuts here on a Friday afternoon. We'd like to have Mina back, so let's clean it up.
Yeah, absolutely. East Valley represent, though, by Mina Kimes. Great insight. One of the few national media members that has some true, I guess, good takes on the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, which is refreshing to hear.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff happening with this team, not just Mina Kimes on this show, but how about Desert Financial Credit Union, the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals and the Venerable household and PHNX Sports, by the way. I wonder if Mina Kimes knew about Desert Financial when she lived here in the East Valley, but if she doesn't, anytime she comes back, it's a great place to get a financial solution or several to make your life better. Look for Desert Financial for checking, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Plus, if you're an Arizona sports fan, Bo, there's no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union to get the exclusive debit card, the Red Sea, represented with the Arizona Cardinal Visa debit. Show your team spirit. Open up a free checking account online and get an Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. I have it. It's fantastic. People always commend it, Bo, when they see it. They're like, man, that's really sharp. But you can get it right now. Desert Financial Credit Union, not the transaction of the day, but the place you need to be able to service your financial needs right now. Desert Financial Credit Union. Go to their website, desertfinancial.com/CardinalsBo to get started. It takes a matter of minutes to open up that free checking account. Debit cards in the mail just a couple days after the fact. You cannot beat it. I promise you, if you're looking for financial solutions to make your life better, look no further than Desert Financial.
Yeah, you can't beat it. I always say once the bill comes, it's like, hey, Johnny, let's see that awesome, legit Cardinals debit card you got from Arizona Financial. You pop it out, you pick up the tab, and that's why I like it even more. Also, I love our friends over at Circle K. The Inner Circle, if you haven't joined this free membership program, what are you doing? You can start saving at the pump immediately. Just download their free app right now, sign up, and join America's Thirst Shop in their new free membership program. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, then 3 cents per gallon every day after that. You can start to kind of check off boxes. You can go from 3 to 5 cents. I think you can save up to 10 cents right now. You got to check it out, and it's all available exclusively in that app by becoming an exclusive member of the Inner Circle. They've got member-exclusive beverage deals for Inner Circle members, like get any size, Polar Pop or Froster for 69 cents through September 3rd. You can find it in the app under Circle K and then the offers tab. Check it out. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply. Participating locations. Visit CircleK.com.
Back to these gremlins in the chat. Let's do some super chats. Hopefully they're nice and PG here on a football Friday. Cardi D, friend of the program. He's got a streak going. First super chat of the day, all week long. He's repping one of our favorite shirts, Rise Up Red C shirt, which you can get at the PHNX merchandise locker right now. What a way to relax after a long work week with Bird Gang and Jobo on a flavoring Friday. Well, we hope it lived up and continues to live up to your expectations, Cardi D. We appreciate you, my guy.
Can you absolutely? It's tough to beat Cardi D, and I see him getting in early. He's putting in the work early. Got that super chat in couple hours before the show. You got to respect the grind there. How about Illa Dre jumping in $199? Good steal on Zay Jones. 1-year deal, no brainer. Everybody on this show agrees about that. Illa Dre,
no downside. Under 30 years old, has experience. Again, this is Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch. Those are their jobs. They've seized them. They've been involved in this offense. But injuries happen, slumps happen. Good to have a guy with experience. We'll never doubt that. Plus, Bo, it just speaks to where this team was and is now compared to last year. Like, they're not doing this move last year. They're doing it now. Why are they doing it now? Because they think they're going to be in a position to make the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. They're putting themselves in a position to compete, have depth, and just have some sort of contingency plans for who they've tabbed as their starters, as their main wide receivers. It's good. It's what good teams do.
Fishbowl Flash is back, $5. Thank you so much. Great Monty guy with a fire in his gut. How about it? Also, has anyone seen the videos of how Zay Jones gets up after the catch? Seems like the physics skipped Zay. Wow.
Have you seen those when he was with the Bills back in the day?
Yeah, and he had some good highlights for the Jags, man. Like, it was probably one of the quietest 800-yard seasons. Like, you wouldn't think, like, was he their number 2 that year behind Christian Kirk? I think he was. We're certainly, like, on most NFL Sundays, like, Kirk had the breakout year. He went over 1,000, left Arizona. And then with Zay Jones, everybody was talking about what a great deal that was for them. And then for whatever reason, just didn't work out this year. Jacksonville, nothing went right. So I would say the Cardinals are probably buying low on a guy that thinks of himself closer to what he showed 2 years ago, Bo.
Yeah. It's a solid move, and a guy that, as you mentioned, had a big year. It was before, like, they acquired Ridley, but they didn't have the ability to utilize Ridley until last season. So, and then Zay Jones was not somebody, because of Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk and too many mouths to feed in Jacksonville, to have the big year that he had the previous one. But look, I mean, the Cardinals don't need him to come in and put up 800 yards. If he comes in and puts anywhere from like 300 to 500 and is a big, target in the red zone, that's all they need. That's absolutely all they need. They've got a lot of guys ahead of him that they have high expectations for, from Marv to Michael Wilson to Trey McBride to Greg Dortch. So it's great.
This is great, Brian. Back-to-back super chats. Let's start with this one. $5 instead of cow tipping. It's JV tipping by our new tight end. We need it. Tip Raymond, by the way, Brian, signed his rookie contract, Bo, according to multiple sources, 4-year deal. How did Tip look out there? Like, I haven't heard anything about our boy Tip out there. Let's see. Was he throwing people around?
No, it's a tough day to do that. As I said, they kind of eased into things, and Tip Ryman is out there. It's like the least conducive to showing off his skill set. Like, he said yesterday in his press conference that, he was getting kicked out of Pee-wee football games because he was hitting too many kids. And it's like the opposite. They don't have any pads on. They're just in shorts, and he's just out there and learning about special teams and different nuances of the tight end position.
This is my favorite super chat of the day, Brian. We should have hired Mina Kimes, not Steve Kimes. That's right.
Yeah.
How many more Pro Bowlers would they have? I would say at least triple the Pro Bowlers than Steve Kimes drafted.
That campaign would have gone hard, like back in the day. Like, not Steve Kimes, Mina Kimes.
It would be happening right now
GM.
for sure if he was still around. Like, fans would be like, Mina Kimes is better at this than you. You do not deserve this job. Thankfully, he didn't get to that point. Look, it sounds like Mina Kimes really respects. We can debrief the interview here in a second. Respects the job Monty Ossenfort's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're getting back to basics here. And Paris Johnson Jr., I know Trey McBride was a Kime draftee, but thankfully we don't have to talk about Big Steve anymore.
What's the blind squirrel?
Finds a nut once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How about Greg Hanlon, $2?
No, hang on. Sorry, my bad. There you go.
Yeah. Bo slammed 6 raw eggs in front of JG next press conference. I think that's going to get me some brownie points with the head coach of the Cardinals saying that donuts are a non-winning move.
Did he tell us at the combine when we interviewed him? Does he drink coffee or caffeine?
He does.
He does. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if he's one of those people who doesn't drink caffeine either. And he not a big carbs guy. I couldn't remember. I'm like, does he not do like donuts nor like coffee or anything? Like, how does he get going in the morning? But do it like just start cracking them in your mouth live in the presser. Hey JG, how about this? And then just start going to work.
That'd be great. Just puke all over myself after it does inevitably make me vomit because it's disgusting, and I'm not Rocky Balboa, and I can't pull that move off.
Just throw up right next to where our social media director Michaela spilled her coffee that one time, and keep that streak going.
That's actually in the Glendale Stadium. That's in the valves of their media room there. That they
that's true.
They did change the carpet, and I guarantee it's because of the big fat stain that she left there.
That's a goated moment. I love it so much. Joshua 249. Damn, K1 pick with the guys at his statue goes hard AF. It's one of the best things that they've done this entire offseason. I love the comments too below. It's like, man, shouldn't these guys be prepared for the draft? Shouldn't these guys be getting ready for the draft? What a crock of shit that was by our guy Florio this time last year.
Florio on that one. He deserved it. Horrible take.
As Mina said, I mean, like, we'll call a spade a spade. Probably not a lot of people watched the Cardinals last year. They weren't on national TV. We watched every game, and we had a good time. But, like, they didn't win a lot. And then Kyler came back, and he had some ups and downs, and then he really took off the last couple games of the year. Like, that they are the easiest team to be able to say they're undervalued because of what their quarterback brings to the table and the buy-in from the team. Like, you know what I see a lot of? Hey, the Raiders could surprise this year. With whom? With what quarterback? In what world are the Raiders doing that? There's a lot of that shit going around in the NFL landscape. Like, I have seen with my eyes Kyler Murray take this team to the postseason with Cliff Kingsbury in a division with Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. Like, that happened. We're not making those up. I just feel like it's easy to come to that conclusion. I've seen it before.
Right. No, and I think because it's been done before, and it's usually the exception that without a quarterback that, you know, playing winning football and getting to the postseason is possible. But most of the times, like, the easiest path is by finding franchise quarterback and leaning on consistent quarterback play. Like that's it. So as bad as the Florio take was, I heard another one. For whatever reason, I decided to poison my ears, listen to his show driving in the studio at one point. I just listened to bad football radio for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, most shows are bad, but ours.
Yeah, and he was saying that he agreed with the Raiders, just that they decided to coin flip on Brock Bowers and Terrion Arnold. He's like, lots of things in the NFL are decided by coin flips.
Literally, nobody does that who's smart.
Right.
Steve Keim probably did that a lot. Najee Harris or Zaven Collins. Let me flip a
call in the air, fellas. Ting.
Another linebacker. All right, now we're going to flip what position you're going to play. Safety or edge rusher?
Yeah.
I've never played either. Oh, off-wall linebacker. Let's do it. Brian's back again. America's third stop is Circle K, but the chat was the third shop today. That's true. You guys, quite colorful in the chat today. Yeah. Mina's great. And we're hoping to get her back on eventually down the line. She said she'd love to come back. We'd love to have her back as a true friend of the program. And again, like, she was being real at the end. Like, she talks about the Cardinals more than most. She consumes NFC West football. She's as smart as anybody. And we will be fortunate to get her back, and we will do our best. But we appreciate the support, everybody, on a Football Friday. What are you laughing at?
Just the chat continues. Merv, chat has never seen a woman before. Pretty much. At least that's how they acted. But
people are like, you're taken back by her aura. Or this is the first time we've spoken, and we're trying to ease her into what the fellas do on the program. But yeah, let's just be wacky Johnny and Bo with Mina Kimes off the gate, so she just drops off the stream. But yeah, hopefully we have another interview with her down the line. Cardi's back, $2. Loyalty is important. Pay Buddha and JC. # locked on. So I got a text from Alex Clancy today, real quick. So I was on his show earlier this week, and I said this will probably be the last year for Buddha and James Conner. I don't think either will be back because they're older players at non-premium positions, but they're great players. They're all-time Cardinals. And I think he did a bit today, and he'd let me know, like, this isn't in relation to what you said, but I think they should both come back. And I said, I'm open to that argument. Cardi D, like, if James Conner has another huge year and he's available and he wants to come back, well, of course they would explore that. Same thing with Budda Baker. I just feel like Trey Benson was a top 70 pick. I think that they don't want to be in a position to pay safeties and running backs every offseason, but these are two all-timers. Like, James Conner is a top 3 free agent signing that they've ever had. Budda Baker should be in the Ring of Honor / Hall of Fame, hopefully. So I'm not going to say there's 0% chance, but I would say right now their contracts are going to expire, and I think they're allowed to test the market next year.
Yeah. I mean, if they can figure something out that makes sense for both sides, perfect. Absolutely. It'd be huge. You know, I'm sure they've got advocates, obviously, on the coaching staff and in the locker room. But at the end of the day, it's also going to come down – ultimately, it's going to come down to the general manager. And, you know, he's looking at this roster and he's looking at spots and what they've accounted for. And the bulk of this team is going to be the guys that have just been drafted the last 2 years. And, if they can find a spot and if they can continue their role and kind of fight off usually what we see trends like for running backs who hit 30 years old and safeties when they hit a certain age. If Buddha and James can continue to fight those off and be the exceptions, then perfect. But the same time, like they're not going to be able to probably find their next big deal here. And I think that that's the big point there, right? Despite how much money the Cardinals are going to have to spend, it's just going to be a lot cap space come next offseason. But
like they drafted Trey Benson to eventually be the guy, right? I mean, they're not going to come out and say that. Trey Benson was the second running back taken in this draft, and who does he profile as? A James Conner-esque type of power back. Now, it could be in 2 years from now, could be in 6 months from now. They envision that at some point happening.
Yeah, that's great. I haven't blocked Alex's number just yet, but I'm pretty close. That's nice of you to respond.
It's nice in the chat saying, wow, Johnny's saying both Buddha and James Conner are washed. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Absolutely, to a point.
That's the tough thing about rebuilds, right? And people want to, move forward because the expectations have risen because the coaching staff proved itself last year, your quarterback returned, and they got more talent on the team. But oftentimes it's not the team turning back and saying, hey, we're going to pay guys for previous performance. Because what does the NFL tell you as far as the history of the league? Guys, when they reach a certain age at certain positions, their production seems to just go the wrong way. And to pay for that, that's what bad organizations do. What good organizations do is having the foresight to maybe cut bait earlier rather than too late. And I think that Monty Ossenfort, it's all a business to him. Obviously, the relationships are important to him, but as far as roster building, I just don't think he's going to err on the side of like giving guys at non-premium positions big money deals.
A lot can change in a year. I would love to see Buda Baker retire a Cardinal. And that's not a knock on James. Buda Baker playing his whole career will be pretty cool. They tried that with Adrian Wilson, didn't work out. But I also think like Buda Baker's been exposed to a lot of losing in Arizona. It would be great for him to at least get to start this run of hopefully some success in Arizona. You never run right now. Run over to the PHNX merchandise locker. Pick up the hottest t-shirt going right now. It's the Phoenix Cardinal t-shirt, a brand new release that's exclusive to this fine program here. I always say it, my favorite bird with my favorite stadium, my favorite state flag, all rolled into one t-shirt that can be yours for the price of, I don't know, for free. Okay, you can purchase it, but you can also become a diehard at gophnx.com. This can be your shirt for the year. You get a free piece of merch every single year you are a diehard. I'm diehard for this shirt. We have so much good content in terms of the merchandise locker gear coming from PHNX Cardinals here in the coming days, weeks. You're going to be able to redo your entire wardrobe. So if you become a diehard, Bo, I think you get free shipping on the merchandise locker. It's just let's get ready to go.
Yeah, and that's not just it. You get the membership card, you get that free tee or hat that you like, as you mentioned, and you get access to all the premium written content and entrance to the exclusive Discord lounge where you can come hang out and have some great conversation about your favorite football team and your favorite baseball team and your favorite college teams and your favorite basketball team that just hired a coach and talk directly to Espo or Gerald Burgay or Saul. Discounts on all the events like today's unbelievable event out there at Dobson Ranch Golf Course. It was the Keeping It 100 Scramble. It was unbelievable. We're with friends over at Big Drive Energy. I'm a little bummed I missed out on it, but I know everybody that was involved had an awesome time. How about Frank Sanders and Britton Golden out there teaming up with the GM Saul Bookman? We certainly missed out on that, Johnny. And if you missed out on it yourself, don't make that mistake twice. Get in on it next year because I'm almost positive it's going to come back around at this time next year.
It feels like today, like we buried the headline. Zay Jones signs a contract for the Cardinals. That's exciting, unexpected. Mina Kimes joins the show for the first time, not the last time. But then I want to recap. This happened today. Marvin Harrison Jr. took the field in Tempe, number 18. Are we just like numb to this at this point? Is this business as usual, Bo Brack?
No, not at all. Look how big this guy is.
He's enormous.
He is. I mean, you think of him and he's 6'4", 212, maybe 205, anywhere between then. He is a broad-shouldered guy. Like he is he's going to be just unbelievable for this offense and what he's going to be able to do. The size and the speed. Arizona Cardinals haven't had that since number 11 was out there on the sidelines and on the gridiron for him.
You know, I got to cover this team a couple years ago when AJ Green was, toward the end of his career, and he was a big guy. And I look at that, I'm like, are they about the same height? A lot of people are like, oh, Marvin's not as big as Julio and AJ Green. What are you looking at? Yeah. I'm sorry, like he's at least 6'3.5", and in cleats he might be pushing 6'4".
Yeah, he's really well put together. He really is. There's a difference, and you see. So is Darius Robinson, man. Darius Robinson.
I wish we could get that picture. We'll use it. Check it out. It's on our Twitter account today.
Yeah, no, I can get it. I think I can get it up.
Okay, Bo's gonna get this picture of Darius Robinson. We're like, if you're not familiar with this man and his legs, and what he plans to do to opposing offensive line, buckle up. But we'll get Bo's gonna get this photo here as we keep it going. In the meantime, drop a like on this video, by the way. Drop a like here if you want more exclusive guests like, say Mina Kimes or some other friends of the program. Drop a like. The more likes, the more views, the more subscribers your boys get, the bigger the outreach for this program that we love so much to do every single day at 4:30. And yeah, it just feels like a lot of good mojo. The mini camp for rookies goes through this weekend. So today was the only day where the media was privy to said workout. Yeah. So this weekend it's going to be Marv and Melton and company behind the scenes. And then next week we have a banner week because we've got the schedule release show. Now that we initially thought there was some rumors and nothing's solidified yet, Bo, but we had thought the Cardinals are potentially going to go to Germany. Well, that's kind of been dispelled a little bit. And then there was some whispers, that they were going to go to London. Now it's looking like they may not get a nationally televised game overseas.
An international game, yeah.
An international game, excuse me. Hopefully they get a nationally televised game. But do you want to see this team play in London? Do you want to see this team play in Germany? Let us know in the chat. But tell me right now, everybody in the chat, how many nationally primetime games will they get next Wednesday? How many primetime games is this team? They were shut out last year. They got K1 back. They have Marvin. I think they're at least going to get one. I'm going to go. My official prediction is 2. They're going to get a Thursday night game. They're going to get a Monday night game. That's my prediction.
Right. And, you've got Schrager, he's been mocking at a high level, and then he mocks schedules as well. And he's got the Cardinals. He said that they're going to be with the Carolina Panthers as bottom feeders in the league as far as primetime games. And that's kind of surprising to me with all the momentum that they gain and that Kyler's coming into a healthy season and what he was able to put on tape the last half of it. And then the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr. It is kind of crazy that they're still going to be regarded as, a Carolina, like the Panthers are, who just an awful team right now and are probably,
they're a terrible watch.
They are. And the Cardinals are not going to be. I mean, I think at the very least offensively, they're going to be exciting and they're going to have to make some plays on the defensive side and people are going to have to merge. But yeah, it's, I found that kind of interesting from Schrager's perspective.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying he's wrong. He nailed the Cardinals' first 2 picks of the draft. He had the most accurate mock draft, I think, back-to-back years in the NFL. So, I mean, I think 2 is the sweet spot. I don't think they're getting a Sunday night game. The Cardinals, for whatever reason, unless they're coming off a playoff season, are never a Sunday night darling. I think Monday, maybe the Monday night doubleheader. I think a Thursday game would be good though. But this team does better. Everybody knows in the chat when they fly under the radar, Bo.
Yeah. Here's that picture that I was able to snap of Cardinals' second first-round pick, 27th overall selection of Missouri, Darius Robinson.
My God.
Look at this, man. Look at this, just behemoth. You got Nick Rollis behind him and Monty Ossenfort just in awe. And Nick's just like, thank you, Monty. Thank you for giving me this just massive, versatile, violent player that's going to be the face of our revamped defensive line.
I love that, Brian, in the chat, we have a Hulk. It feels like that. They don't have anybody who looks like that. I've said that like 20 times. People are probably sick of me here saying it. Their defensive line group last year, they had some overachievers, Dante Stills, but that's a man in the man's game. And that's somebody who's going to be able to push around opposing offensive linemen. Not that the other players aren't men, but you know what I mean. He's a big dude. He's a physically imposing player. First, it's like that term, first off the bus kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fired up to see him in action in the preseason. And then, of course, come September, he's the highest defensive lineman they've drafted since Nkemdiche, which is crazy. That was 8 years ago. Robert Nkemdiche was right around the same pick. You talk about the difference in not only the player, but the person. Something tells me this is going to work out a little bit better.
Yeah. Yep. They're going to be a guy that's just locked into as far as the process. If you heard him post-draft, talking about his hand position, and Rollis appreciated that. It's like usually the guy goes to he's like excited at talking about it. He's excited to go to his draft city and help the team win. And this guy's talking about the little specific intricacies of playing the position in the process like that he has each and every day. It's insane. The grind that he's putting himself through. And that's something that Nkemdiche lacked. He didn't love ball. Darius Robinson, it's very apparent. He loves ball. So does each and every one of these guys. Like from, we talked to Rabbit, Taylor Demerson today, to Elijah Jones, like and Trey Benson, all these guys, like they win in press conferences because, they're just impressive individuals, and they all have a common theme where they love football. They live for the game, and they love as far as what goes into making themselves better each and every day. So it's really probably the best caliber of player the Cardinals have ever brought in.
High floor. They love ball. We love talking ball here on PHNX Cardinals Banner Show here on a Football Friday. Like this show. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast. I get asked all the time, Bo, is there a place I can check out the show kind of after hours? Maybe that's not on YouTube. Of course. Hell yeah. Go to your smartphone, your mobile device, wherever you have your podcast, find PHNX Cardinals, search it, and hit that follow button. Show a little class. Leave us a 5-star review if you'd be so inclined. Helps grow the program here. Again, Banner Week next week. Official schedule release day on Wednesday. We'll preview it. We've got the fallout of mini camp with the rookies this weekend. So much good stuff. Good mojo going with this team, Bo Brack. You love to see it.
How about Jarek 007 said, I listen, watch every day, and appreciate all the hard work that is put in to give us great Cardinals content. That was a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Snowy2173 said, been a fan of the team since they arrived to town. Love the show. Listen every day. By far the best Cardinals info and entertainment in the Valley. Big thank you to both of those people and anybody who's left a 5-star or review. You leave a new one, we'll read it on air. Love that. Thank you, Jessica, saying Joe Bo is the best. It's fantastic. As you mentioned, it's been another big week here on the show, and it's all possible by everybody that tunes in and listens, downloads this show. And look, the only place you can get the exclusive audio-only podcast that we do once a week is by subscribing to the podcast. And that's going to be right there for you Monday morning. So without fail. So check that out and make sure you're listening to it. It's the only way you can get more PHNX Cardinals.
Big thanks to Mina Kimes, new friend of the program. For Bo Brack, I'm Johnny Venerable. We're back on a Monday. Have a great weekend.
We all silly like the mayor.